Climate change hurts all aspects of life, from the atmosphere to water to plants and even us. Climate change is disastrous and helps nobody. Let's look into some of the effects of climate change. On the atmosphere. According to Climate Central, on Tuesday, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration released its annual index of 20 key greenhouse gases. It shows that their direct influence on the climate has risen 140% since 1750, with 40% of that rise coming in just the past 26 years. That increase is almost entirely due to human activities and has caused the planet to warm 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1 degree Celsius, above pre-industrial temperatures. The index takes greenhouse gas measurements from about 80 ships and observatories around the world, gathered in all their parts per million and parts per billion glory, and boils them down into a simple numerical index, which defines the rise from 1700 to 1990 as 100% or simply 1. This year's number, 1.4. On humans. Climate change impacts and endanger our health by affecting our water sources and food, the weather we experience, the air we breathe, and our interactions with the built and natural environments. The risks to human health continue to grow as long as climate. As the climate continues to change, the risks to human health continue to grow. On water. Melting glaciers, early snowmelt, and severe droughts will cause more dramatic water shortages to increase the risk of wildfires in the American West. Rising sea levels will lead to coastal flooding on the eastern seaboard, especially in Florida, and in other areas such as the Gulf of Mexico. On plants. By 2100, the number of days when plants can grow could decrease by 11%, assuming that we don't try to stop climate change. According to Time, they state that declining plant growth would destroy forests and dramatically change the habitats that are necessary for many species to survive. And if conditions get bad enough, forests could actually produce carbon instead of removing it from the atmosphere, exacerbating the root cause of climate change. On animals. Unless people decide to severely reduce greenhouse gas emissions, climate change could cause a quarter of land animals and bird life to become extinct. Sea turtles could lose their nesting beaches. Over 30% of Caribbean beaches are used by turtles during the nesting season and would be affected. The Mediterranean monk seals, who are already endangered, need beaches upon which to raise their pups, and a rise in sea level there could damage shallow coastal areas used annually by dolphins and whales, which need gentle, shallow waters in order to rear their small calves. On habitats. Forests, cities, and farms will face troublesome new pests, heavy downpours, heat waves, and increased flooding. All of the following factors will destroy and damage fisheries and agriculture. The destruction of habitats such as alpine meadows or coral reefs could drive many animal and plant species to extinction.
The polar ice caps located within the Arctic have been greatly affected by climate change. In the past 30 years, the Arctic has warmed more than any other region on the planet. It has warmed twice as fast as well. This deeply affects the ecosystems and the animals that live in it throughout the Arctic and also the rest of the world. Since we couldn't choose all the places of the world affected by climate change, as there are so many, we have decided to focus on this one. Let's take a look. Number 1. Permafrost extent, sea ice, and snow cover levels have gone down immensely. Number 2. Glaciers in northern Canada and Iceland have retreated. Number 3. The Arctic acts as a refrigerator for the rest of the world, so as it melts, the climate of the rest of the world heats up. Number 4. Its climate will be warmer and wetter compared to its chilly and solid former. Number 5. Polar bears, one of the main predators in the Arctic, are losing their homes on the sea ice, and thus the Arctic food web is failing because they cannot hunt and eat smaller animals. Number 6. Animals that polar bears rely on could decrease in population, such as seals and sea lions, causing more problems for polar bears. Number 7. Warmer winters make it harder for animals to find shelter, use camouflage, nest, and find food. Number 8. Food sources such as large groups of fish migrate as temperatures change and make it harder for predators to find sources of food. Number 9. Southern species are moving north into the Arctic as temperatures rise, posing threats to native species. Number 10. Melting ice opens passages for large ships, which can increase ice melt, and their loud noises may affect whales and scare wildlife. Many of these ships carry oil, which can accidentally leak into the ocean, killing animals. Number 11. Oil drilling is moving north, which can also lead to harming wildlife with the oil and disruption of habitats. Number 12. Animals such as caribou and reindeer find it difficult to find food under layers of ice in the snow. Number 13. Walruses are being pushed onto land, and this pushing can also result in smaller, younger walruses being killed. Number 14. The ice and snow in the Arctic reflects the sun's energy back into space, but as they melt, the heat hits the bare rocks and water, and they absorb it, making the Earth even warmer. It is called the albedo effect. Number 15. There will be rising sea levels and precipitation change that will affect the Arctic's terrain and ecosystems. There will also be increasingly more dangerous and powerful storms as well. Number 16. There will be loss of animal life, like fish, bird, and marine animals suffer from the effects of climate change in the Arctic. I hope that now that you've heard this, you realize how much climate change is doing damage to one of the most beautiful ecosystems on the planet, and we hope you decide to make a change as well.